I knew the second I saw two security guys posted by the office door that something was off. The new director, Sloan, sat behind the desk like she owned the place. Technically, after the buyout, she kinda did. She didn't even look up at me when she said, "Have a seat." I stayed standing. "My name is Sloan Reeves," she continued, finally making eye contact. "I'm the new regional director for Iron Vein Studios. I wanted to speak with you personally because, well, this isn't easy. Bullshit. We've reviewed your portfolio, your rate structure, and while your work is undeniably skilled, it doesn't quite align with the artistic direction we're moving toward as a brand." I crossed my arms. "You're letting me go." Her face didn't twitch. "Yes, effective immediately. You'll receive severance, of course. This decision is final. Quick note. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from?" I stared at her for a second. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I didn't believe what I was hearing. I had built that studio, trained every damn artist in it. My work was booked out for 6 months. We also found that your rates are significantly misaligned with what we'll be offering clients moving forward. Misaligned, I repeated, almost laughing. My clients pay me because they trust me, because I deliver, because I've been here longer than this company's owned the name. She nodded like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "You'll have 30 minutes to gather your things. Security will escort you out." I didn't say another word to her. I turned, walked past the guards, and headed straight to my station. My team looked confused as hell. Evan, my newest apprentice, dropped his tattoo machine mid-line. I didn't even get through my first sentence before Tara, my first apprentice, hugged me tight. "What the hell is going on?" "They're cutting me loose," I said. "Some corporate crap about artistic direction." "Are you serious?" Darren, one of the piercers, looked like he'd been punched. I didn't cry, didn't yell, just packed my gear into my travel case while they stood around me, silent and stunned. A couple of them tried to argue with security when they said time was up. I waved it off. Hugs, handshakes, one last look. Then I walked out. Outside, I kept my face blank. But inside, I was boiling. My stomach clenched so tight I could barely breathe. I'd sacrificed years building that place, mentoring every artist under that roof, and they tossed me out like a temp. And as I replayed that whole meeting in my head, it hit me. This wasn't about direction or rates. They wanted a clean slate with my client list. That's all it ever was. I drove home in silence, fists clenched on the steering wheel. My jaw ached from how hard I was grinding my teeth. Every red light gave me too much time to replay it. Sloane's fake calm voice, the way those security guys didn't even blink. I turned onto our street in Henderson and pulled into the driveway like a robot. My stomach was still in knots, not sad, not even shocked anymore, just raw. Darren was already home. I walked in and dropped my bag by the front door harder than I meant to. He came around the corner holding a spatula. "Hey." He stopped when he saw my face. "What happened?" I dropped into a kitchen chair. "They fired me." "What?" "New director. Said it was a shift in artistic direction. Total corporate purge. They just wanted me out." He stared for a second, then shook his head and turned back to the stove. "Unbelievable. You built that damn place." "Don't remind me." He started plating pasta. Garlic and butter filled the kitchen, but I couldn't taste anything. My phone buzzed against the table, then again, and again. I finally flipped it over. 12 texts, 9 DMs. My clients had already heard. "Hey, I just saw something online. Are you okay? Please tell me this isn't true. Where are you working now? I'm not booking with anyone else." One message had 15 question marks in a row. Another just said, "WTF." And then my phone rang. Micah's name lit up the screen. I answered. "Hey." "Tell me you didn't get fired," he said, voice sharp. "I did. You've tattooed me for 9 years. My whole left sleeve is your work. What the hell are they thinking?" "They're not. New management. Corporate's gutting everything and slapping a brand on it." "Bullshit. That studio was you. You gave them a reputation." He wasn't wrong. "You working somewhere else?" "Not yet. Let me know when you are. I'm not letting anyone else near my back piece." Call ended. I stared at the screen. Another call came in. Nina, a model I'd worked on for a calendar shoot. Same story. Shock, loyalty, disgust. Then Carlos, then Jenna. then 2 guys who used to fly in from Phoenix. Every single one of them wanted to know where I was headed next. I looked over at Darren. They think they hurt me, but the clients didn't come for the studio. He raised an eyebrow. Yeah? They came for me. He set a wine glass in front of me, sat down, and smiled. Took them about 20 minutes to figure that out. How long you think before corporate starts panicking? I gave a dry laugh and sipped the wine. My fingers were still trembling. I opened my DMs again and saw more piling in by the second. One guy wrote, "You're the only person I let touch my skin. I'll wait as long as it takes." It hit me like a slap. Everything I'd poured into that studio hadn't just evaporated. They could kick me out, change the logo, even delete my name from the roster. But they couldn't take what actually mattered: the trust, the relationships, the work. Darren reached over and squeezed my hand. "You're not done, not even close." No, I wasn't. I stood up, grabbed my laptop, and started pulling up files, designs, contracts, old work I'd archived. I wasn't sure what the next move was, but I knew one thing. I had people behind me, and that meant something. My laptop was still open on the kitchen table when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Tara. I picked up. "Hey." Her voice came fast and tight. "You're not going to believe what's happening. Try me." 2 clients walked out mid-session today. One of them had half an outline done. They both demanded refunds. Said they only booked thinking you'd be here. I leaned back in my chair. Damn. "And that's just the start," she said. "The front desk is getting swamped with calls. Big names, too. They want to know where you are, why you're not on the schedule, what the hell's going on." They didn't post anything yet. Nope, nothing official. But you know what they are saying? Let me guess. That you demanded a raise, like a ridiculous one. Said you told them you were too valuable to follow corporate policies. I snorted. Of course they did. They're scrambling. Sloane's hiding in her office. The junior artists are panicking. One of them cried in the break room because a client asked for a refund and said he wanted every trace of his record deleted. "Keep your head down, Tara. This is going to get uglier before it clears." She exhaled into the phone. "People are pissed, Avery. I mean real pissed. They're not even mad that you're gone. They're mad at how it happened." "Good," I said. "They should be." After we hung up, I walked out to the porch just to get some air. I hadn't even sat down before I saw a familiar black Harley roll up to the curb. Warren. He killed the engine, swung off, and walked up the steps with purpose. His denim vest was dusted with road grime, tattoos crawling up both arms, half of them mine. "Figured you'd be home," he said. "You hear what those clowns are saying?" "Yeah," I said. "I heard." He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote this up this morning. Gave a copy to the front desk. Told him it's official." I opened it. Simple, handwritten note. Warren's logo at the top from his custom bike shop. "Effective immediately. All sessions booked through Iron Vein Studios for me or anyone associated with Wrench Dogs are canceled. We won't be rescheduling. Any future bookings will be done directly through Avery Lee or her official studio, wherever and whenever that happens." "Wrench Dogs?" I said, eyebrows raised. "Whole crew," he said. "I sent that to 30 guys today. More coming. We don't do business with snakes." I looked up at him. "You didn't have to do that." "Yeah, I did," he said. "You've been doing our ink for 12 years. You inked my kid's memorial piece. You think I'm gonna let some suit talk shit about you and pretend it's business as usual?" I folded the letter and held it tight. "They're gonna feel that one. Good. Let 'em." He slapped my shoulder, firm. "They didn't just lose an artist, Avery. They lost trust. And in this game, that's everything." He walked back to his bike without another word, kicked it to life, and peeled off down the street. No fanfare, just loyalty. Quiet, loud, and permanent. Back inside, I sat down, pulled my laptop closer, and opened a blank document. Not to vent, not to rant. I just needed a place to start tracking it all. Who'd reached out, what they were saying, what the studio was doing to spin it. Because the cracks were showing already. And I wasn't lifting a finger. I didn't have to. The next morning, my phone rang again, this time from a number I didn't recognize. "Hello? Is this Avery Lee?" the voice said. Female, crisp, way too polite to be friendly. "Speaking. My name is Karen Duvall. I'm with legal counsel representing Iron Vein Studios. I'd like to speak to you about potential contract violations. I shut my laptop. Go ahead. We've received reports that you've been communicating with current clients of Iron Vein regarding their appointments, including encouraging them to cancel or reschedule outside our system. That's not true, I said. I haven't reached out to a single client. They're calling me, she paused. Even so, you're aware your contract includes a non-solicitation clause, correct? Yeah, and I haven't solicited anyone, I said. I've got screenshots, timestamps, everything. You want proof? I can send it. There was another pause, longer this time. We're just trying to clarify your intentions here, Ms. Lee. There's a lot of confusion surrounding your departure. I'll bet, I said, especially with the lies being told inside that building. You want to talk about damaging business? Start there. Her voice sharpened a bit. At this time, we're simply advising you to cease any activity that could be construed as client poaching. Got it. And just so we're clear, I'm documenting this call too. Of course. She hung up before I could say anything else. I sat there for a second, then opened a note file and wrote down every detail: time, date, summary. Then I emailed it to myself and called Jack Monroe, a lawyer I'd worked with when I negotiated my original contract. He picked up on the second ring. Avery? Hey, Jack. Looks like Iron Vein's trying to rattle chains. I figured they might. Talk to me. I filled him in, word for word. He asked for copies of any messages or call logs, said he'd review the non-solicitation clause and make sure I was covered. You're smart not to engage, he said. Let them come to you. Just keep documenting everything. I will. Right after I hung up, Darren walked through the door with a couple grocery bags and a weird grin on his face. Guess who I ran into at the butcher shop, he said, kicking the door shut. Who? Tony Gutierrez. You know, that guy who runs the ink supply co-op downtown. Oh yeah, I said. How's he doing? Better than Iron Vein, Darren said. He said their rep came in yesterday begging for discounted product because they're restructuring. His words, not mine. I raised an eyebrow. Already? They're bleeding, Darren said. It's only been a few days. I stared at the wall for a second, letting that settle in. The whole time, I thought maybe this would blow over, that someone would smooth things out and maybe, stupidly, I'd end up back there someday. But now, I wasn't so sure. I didn't miss the fluorescent lights, the corporate forms, the phony client experience scripts. What I missed was the art, the people, the work itself. And none of that lived in that building anymore. Maybe I didn't want back in. Maybe it was time to build something that couldn't be taken. I shut my laptop and grabbed a sketch pad off the bookshelf. If Iron Vein wanted to make this a war, fine. I wasn't playing defense anymore. I flipped past a few old designs until I hit a blank page. Drew a rectangle. That was the floor plan. 4 chairs, spaced clean, not crammed together like cattle stalls. A wall full of framed art, not Instagram screens. Private rooms for longer sessions. Sound system. Skylights if I could afford it. I didn't want flashy. I wanted focus. A place where people could breathe and sit for 5 hours without feeling like they were part of a factory line. Problem was, I couldn't open anything in the city yet. The no-compete clause was airtight for the next 11 months and 2 weeks, but it didn't say a word about planning. So I started planning. I mocked up a logo that night. A simple black mark, half brushstroke, half needle. I ran names through my head while Darren made tea in the background. Most sounded fake or forced, but one stuck. Evermark Inc. Permanent but personal. Not trendy, not corporate, just real. By the next morning, I'd bought the domain name and started mapping out a brand guide. Nothing public, just prep. I talked to Jack again and had him double-check every inch of the contract. We flagged what I could legally post, what crossed the line, and where the gray zones were. Turned out there were a lot of gray zones. That same afternoon, my inbox started getting clever. People weren't dumb. They knew I couldn't tattoo in town right now, but they also knew how to wait. Hey, if I book a consult for June next year, is that cool? I'll fly in the second you open. Just tell me where. Saved my forearm for you. Don't let me down. I didn't respond to most. Just logged the names, dates, and what they wanted. I wasn't stealing business. They were offering it, willingly. That mattered. A couple days later, I got a text from Jules, an old-school artist I hadn't talked to in years. Heard about the studio mess. You still got hustle? always. He called 10 minutes later, said he'd retired last year and had a small space behind his framing shop in Boulder City, outside the no-compete radius. It's just one chair, he said, but it's clean and the lease is friendly. I can't ink yet. Didn't say you had to, but when the clock runs out, it's yours if you want it. I didn't get emotional, but my throat tightened for a second. Thanks, Jules. You earned it. Word traveled quiet but steady. A couple shop owners offered to help build out a space when I was ready. A guy I used to train with sent me a file of custom chair layouts he designed for ergonomic workspaces. Another dropped off a sealed envelope with names of 3 local landlords who hated Iron Vein and would love to lease to someone new. No one was loud about it, but the support was real. At night, I'd sit on the couch with Darren, half watching TV while I refined the studio vibe on my laptop. We picked out paint swatches, looked at flooring, talked about ambient lighting and walk-in policies. Not dreams, plans. I ordered sample shirts and mugs with the Evermark logo, just for me. A reminder this wasn't an idea, it was already moving. And every time I got another "I'm with you" message from a client or another little tip from someone in the community, I felt it more and more. They didn't follow me because I was flashy. They followed me because I gave a damn. Evermark wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding something they could trust. I was neck deep in a branding mock-up when Micah texted, "Dinner tonight? Just you and me. 7 p.m. Mason's Grill. Don't flake." I didn't respond right away. Something about it felt off. Micah never did one-on-one anything, but curiosity won. I threw on jeans and a clean shirt, then headed across town. Mason's was packed like always. I scanned the booths, expecting to spot Micah waving from a corner. Instead, the hostess led me to the private room and back. Micah stood up when I walked in, along with 3 other familiar faces. "Surprise," he said. I blinked. "What is this?" "Sit," said Micah. "We're eating." I looked around the table. There was Dev, the gym chain guy who'd driven in from Pahrump, Kara, a music producer from downtown, and Nate, a firefighter who used to refer everyone from his station to me. I sat down slowly. "Okay, now someone better talk." Micah poured me a drink. "We're here because we're sick of waiting, and we're not booking with anyone else. Period." Dev leaned in. "They tried to push one of your apprentices on me last week. I walked out." "I canceled a session mid-outline," Kara said. "Guy was tracing your style like a cheap copy." I asked for a refund and left. Nate nodded. "My whole station's locked up. No one's going back in there until you're the one holding the needle again." I sat back, heart pounding harder than I expected. "I appreciate that, but I legally can't open anything in the city yet. I've still got 10 months on my no-compete." Micah shrugged. "We'll wait." I stared at him. "You'll wait," Dev cut in. "Avery, you didn't just ink us. You learned our stories. You remembered birthdays. You fixed my brother's botched sleeve from a Vegas trip. That wasn't a service. It was personal." Kara nodded. "You told me once that ink lasts longer than most relationships. I believed that. Still do." Micah raised his glass. "So here's the question. Are you opening your own shop?" I hesitated. "Maybe." They all answered in sync. "Then we'll be your first clients." It hit me square in the chest. I glanced down at the table. Empty plates, half-finished drinks, scattered silverware, and felt steadier than I had in weeks. "We can't sign checks or write business plans for you," Micah said. "But we can commit to this. When you open that door, we'll be standing on the other side." Nate smirked. "And I've got 20 guys who'll follow me without blinking." Dev pointed at me. "You already have the brand. It's you." We spent the next hour talking timelines. Not plans, just groundwork. Kara asked about square footage. Dev brought up marketing strategy. Nate offered to help with community events once I was live. Micah wanted to sponsor a launch party. Low-key, invite only. I didn't make promises, but I took notes. Every idea, every offer, every voice around that table reminded me I wasn't doing this in a vacuum. We wrapped up around 9. Hugs, handshakes, half-sincere jokes about getting matching tattoos to commemorate the meeting. Outside, the air was warm. My head buzzed. Not from the whiskey, but from the clarity. I didn't have a shop yet. I didn't have a space. But I had something better. People who believed in me before the walls ever went up. 2 days after the dinner, Tara called again. Studio's falling apart, she said, without even saying hi. I set my coffee down. How bad? They're trying to copy your work, she said, pulling old files, photos, sketch drafts. I walked past the break room and saw Sloan coaching one of the new guys on how to mimic your needle flow. I laughed. Good luck with that. It's pathetic. They're pulling notes from your client cards like they're cheat sheets. But they're getting details wrong. Names, dates, placement meanings. Yeah, that'll go well mid-session. It hasn't. 2 walkouts yesterday. One guy actually said, "You're not Avery," packed up and left before they finished the line work. I leaned back in my chair. How long until clients stop showing up at all? Already started, she said. They cut walk-ins last week. Now they're trying to streamline the schedule. Meaning they're bleeding appointments. She didn't answer that. Didn't need to. I thanked her and got off the phone. Then I turned back to my laptop and kept building. The Evermark site had gone from a blank canvas to something real. Soft grays, clean fonts, no gimmicks. Just clarity and grit. I added a section called Why I Ink, with a short paragraph. No fluff, no brand speak. Just me, my story, why I cared. I filed the first permit that afternoon. Darren came with me to the county office and waited while I filled everything out by hand. The clerk recognized my name and raised her eyebrows. You're not with Iron Vein anymore? Nope, I said, sliding the form across the counter. Going independent, she smiled. Good. Back home, I started mood boarding the shop's vibe. Wood accents, no neon. Music that didn't feel like a club. I pulled shots of vintage signage, textured walls, personal detail spaces where clients could leave notes or photos if they wanted. Evermark wasn't going to be a factory. It was going to feel like a damn studio again. That night, I got a DM from a supply vendor who worked closely with Iron Vein. It was short, heard they're downsizing. 4 cancellations this week. No new walk-ins. Just FYI. I screenshotted it and filed it with the rest. Not out of spite, just to keep a record. It didn't make me happy watching them sink. I wasn't sitting around gloating, but I wasn't surprised either. They thought they were buying a brand when they bought that studio. What they didn't get was, the brand was never the name on the wall. It was trust, time, conversations, care, stuff you can't recreate from a spreadsheet. Every client who walked out mid-session proved that. Every DM that said, "I'll wait as long as it takes," proved that. The building was still standing, but it was hollow now, and no amount of files or faked sketches was going to fill it. Meanwhile, Evermark was taking shape, quietly, steadily, honestly, exactly how it needed to. The email hit my inbox at 8:03 a.m. Subject line, request for discussion, Iron Vein Studios. It was from a guy named Brian Whitlow, regional manager. I remembered him from a couple trade shows, fancy suits, slick talker, always looked like he was trying to sell timeshares. Avery, would you be willing to meet for a brief conversation regarding potential future collaboration with Iron Vein? No pressure, just a talk. Best, Brian. I stared at it for a minute, then typed back 3 words, where and when. We met at a corner cafe downtown, neutral territory. He stood when I walked in, shook my hand like we were old friends. I didn't return the smile. Thanks for coming, he said. Can I get you a coffee? I'm good. He sat across from me and folded his hands like he was about to pitch a merger. Look, I'll get to the point. What happened back at the studio wasn't personal. It was mishandled. Bad communication, poor timing. Sloan didn't fully understand the client dynamics when she made that decision. Yeah, I said, flat. No kidding. He cleared his throat. The board asked me to reach out because things have changed. We'd like to offer you a return position. As head artist, full creative control, your own schedule. A raise, obviously. I raised an eyebrow. And Sloan? She'd remain director, but your roles wouldn't intersect unless you wanted them to. We can even give you a private entrance, separate space. I leaned back. So I run the art side, she runs the admin side? Exactly. And the new artists? His mouth twitched. Well, we'd have to reevaluate the staffing model. Meaning what? Meaning we're flexible. The brand needs you more than them right now. I let that hang in the air. Watched him shift in his seat. He didn't say it, but it was clear. They were willing to toss their new hires under the bus just to get me back in the chair. I'll think about it, I said, standing up. Of course, take your time. We just want to make things right. I walked out without looking back. That night, Tara called me again. Her voice was dry, tired. 4 more refund demands today, she said. One guy told Sloan she butchered a legacy and left without saying another word. They're getting desperate. They're trying to get me back, I said. She snorted. Of course they are. You were the only thing keeping that place from rotting out. They offered me the whole kingdom, title, control, a separate entrance like I'm some kind of VIP zoo animal. Please tell me you laughed in his face. Not yet. Why the hell not? I wanted to hear how far they'd go. She paused. So? You going back? No. There was silence on the line for a beat. Then she let out a relieved breath. Good. We hung up, and I set my phone down on the desk beside my Evermark blueprint. I looked at it for a long time. Lines, layout, purpose in every inch. They offered me the throne to a sinking ship. I already had the keys to something better. I called Brian the next morning. He answered on the second ring. Avery, glad to hear from you. Yeah, I said. Just wanted to thank you for the offer, but I'm gonna pass. Silence on his end for a second. Is there something we could adjust to change your mind? No, I said. I've already made my decision. I ended the call and drove straight to the strip mall in Boulder City. Lease agreement in my glove box. Check in my bag. I signed the paperwork before lunch. Evermark Inc. had a home. By the time I got back to the house, my phone was blowing up. Word had leaked, probably from the leasing agent. Didn't matter, it spread fast. I logged into the website that night and found over 60 waitlist requests. By the next morning, it was over 100. Most of them were old clients, but some were new, friends of friends, people who'd been watching quietly and waiting to see what I'd do. I didn't waste time. First call I made was to Tara. You in? You serious? Yeah, you want a chair? Hell yes, I want a chair. I hired her on the spot, then reached out to 2 other artists who'd quit Iron Vein after I was let go. Both of them jumped at the offer, said they were tired of doing art that felt like clockwork. Last call I made was to Royce Vega, a guest artist I'd admired for years, but never had the chance to work with. He said yes before I even finished the pitch. I've been waiting for someone in Vegas to do it right, he said. We moved fast. Painted the walls, installed lighting, set up stations. Clean lines, no clutter. Every choice had intention. I designed the front to feel like a place people wanted to walk into, not just sit through. We opened our doors 2 weeks later. No balloons, no ribbon cutting. Just an open sign and a packed calendar. Tara did the first walk-in. Royce handled the first custom piece. I started on a full sleeve for a firefighter from Nate's station, who'd booked in during the first wave. The local news ran a short feature that week. New shop, familiar ink. They interviewed me for 5 minutes. I kept it simple. Talked about art, trust, and building something that lasts. I didn't mention Iron Vein once. No need. By the end of that second week, we were booked out 3 months. No drama, no revenge tour. Just people coming back to the artists they trusted and bringing their people with them. And for the first time in a long damn while, it felt like mine. 6 months in, we were running smooth. Music low, machines buzzing, laughter bouncing off the walls. I was finishing a half sleeve on a returning client when the bell above the door chimed. I glanced up and froze. Sloan. She looked different. Thinner, drawn out, sharp around the eyes. Same heels, same tight blouse. But her posture wasn't confident anymore. It was heavy. Tara spotted her too, froze mid-cleanup. Avery. I got it, I said, wiping my gloves on a towel. I stood, met her halfway across the shop. She forced a smile. Can we talk? I nodded toward the break room. 10 minutes, that's it. She followed me back, sat at the small table while I leaned against the counter. She didn't even touch the coffee someone had left out. I'll be honest, she started. Iron Vein's shutting down. The chain's considering pulling out of the region completely. I said nothing. We made mistakes. A lot of them. And I know things didn't go down the right way with you. Still said nothing. She shifted. But we could fix this. Merge our operations. Combine what's left of Iron Vein with what you've built here. Your brand, our resources. I think we could do great things together. I stared at her for a beat. You want to merge? Yes, clean start, your leadership. I stepped back. No, I said. She blinked. Just like that. Our philosophies don't match. You don't value people. You manage them. That's not how this place works. She straightened up. I've changed a lot in 6 months. I haven't, I said. And my clients, they don't forget. She held my stare a moment longer, then stood up. All right. She walked out without another word. No parting shot. No attempt to save face. Just silence. I went back out front, tossed my gloves, and sat in my chair by the window. Royce was sketching across from me. Tara was laughing with a walk-in. The air smelled like ink and lemon cleaner. No tension, no noise, just real work. This wasn't revenge. This was what happens when you don't sell out. This was the reward for staying true.